As a big thank you to all their fans for supporting Toxicity, system and radio station K-Rock organised a free outside concert in Hollywood, close to the band's Armenian home. This generous gesture marking Labour Day 2001 was promoted heavily by K-Rock and led to huge legions of fans turning up on the day. Underground filmmaker Chris Recker was part of the enormous crowd who gathered expectantly around the streets off Sunset Boulevard that day.
Yada yada, we got a free show going on in K-Rock, so what do? Everybody heads down there on the day that it was supposed to be said on the radio. A lot of people showed up. I mean, we're in the middle of Hollywood. When I walked up, there was at least 400 to 500 people piling into the streets, off the sidewalks. You had LAPD telling people, obviously getting frustrated with the situation, they had no idea that System of a Down would turn out a crowd like this.
But basically, as you know, the whole thing was massively oversubscribed. They expected 3,000 fans and an estimated 10,000 showed up.
So, I mean, the LAPD started getting frustrated when they actually announced that they weren't going to be letting more people into the show because they've already exceeded the amount of people. You know, they blocked off the whole block and were only allowing people in that had wristbands, that were passed out earlier, stuff that wasn't mentioned before. You had people jumping over fences, cutting through people's apartments to try to sneak into this free show that the LAPD wasn't letting people in.
Hey, look at that shit, man! Everybody and their mom's going in, man! How'd all those people?
Obviously, System have a real hardcore fan base, and some of these kids had travelled and they'd been there all day and it was a hot day. No announcement was made, apparently. This seemed to be the big problem, that the fire marshal said, okay, this is not going to happen, but they didn't get up and tell anybody.
Chris and his friends eventually broke into the concert, where they waited for the band to come on.
It just seemed like, where's the band? Half hour goes by, 40 minutes, people standing there in front of the stage chanting. I mean, I would think this would pull them out. Slowly but surely, I mean, stuff started just coming off the stage and people started realizing, you know what? I don't think this free show is going to happen.
A roadie got up and just started removing one of these banners, and that's when the kids figured out this thing wasn't going to happen.
They weren't stupid. People started getting upset. They started blaming basically the police, the promoters. They basically didn't give a shit anymore. System of a Down wasn't on the stage, so they were going to throw shit at the stage. A couple security guards had to drag the one guy off the stage that was fighting with one of the other security guards. As soon as they got him off stage, more stuff started flying on the stage. Batteries, beer bottles. They weren't even selling alcohol at the show, and there were so many damn beer bottles flying, piled up. Monitors started being ripped down off the stage. You had monitors just landing into crowds of people. Then you had the people starting to take the monitors and run off with, 3 people carrying a monitor back to their car or wherever they tried to take it.
And then there was just more and more kids coming in the opposite direction to me. And this was Labour Day, which is like a bank holiday here. So in like the back streets of Hollywood, it should have been really quiet. So and then simultaneously as I twigged, oh, that was the day they were going to have this free concert, then the police charged from 4 directions onto the intersection where it was really going down, and there was, for like 5 minutes, it was a full-on riot. The tear gas, and I heard they used rubber bullets. I didn't see that with my own eyes. So my van was stuck. Me and another car were just stuck. We had the police behind us, the kids in front of us. There was all kinds of missiles coming from the kids that were hitting our vehicles, and the police were firing tear gas from behind us.
Next thing you know, from the top of the street, from where one of the barricades was, you have a whole group of police officers in riot gear on horses, knocking people out of the way. They were just pushing in a line. Everybody that was in their way was getting pushed with a baton or pushed by trying not to get trampled by a horse.
Almost comically, I was listening to System of a Down at the time because I was currently reviewing the album, so I had the advanced disc in my car, which I hoped might offer me some semblance of protection. But anyway, in the end, I just abandoned the vehicle.
All of a sudden, you just have a stream of people running because, I mean, the cops came in full force. So it was almost like a stampede. News van drove by. They're lucky if they didn't get their window busted or something thrown at a cameraman. Or
it was a mess. I mean, it's a really stupid thing to have a riot over. It's a rock concert. It's trivia.
It was a good idea that just went terribly wrong, terribly bad. Somewhere in the planning there was a flaw.
Really laced with irony in terms of System of a Down's lyrics and their whole approach. But
said, System of a Down obviously likes to do free concerts every once in a while. They like to look out for their fans. But yeah, it was just a hell of a day.
You know, a lot of bands, I get press releases every day from bands who are trying to make out that they're so crazy, that these crazy things happen on the road and they're so out of control, none of which are true. They're all grossly exaggerated. And then this was one of those rare incidents where it really was out of hand, and I really expected systems people to milk it. Because basically the whole thing was all about how popular they were, you know, and it made all the news around here, as you can imagine. It was on all the TV stations. So I waited for my inbox to fill up with press releases, and it just didn't happen. They never did anything with it. And good for them, because they really could have milked it. And nothing was... I never heard one thing about it from the system camp at all. So,
The next day, an article written by Surge entitled Circle of Fear appeared on the band's official website. Surge explained how System were desperate to play, but were prevented from doing so by the LAPD and fire departments. They blamed the authorities' lack of communication with the crowd and subsequent police intimidation for sparking things off. What was supposed to be a day of celebration ended in fear.